One thing that commonly gets tossed around in the TF2 community, besides drama, is the age-old question for Pyro: shotgun or flare gun? While this video will cover this argument, it will also cover the entire secondary selection of which Pyro can choose from. Starting with the shotguns, we'll go over the stock, reserve shooter, and then the panic attack, and then we'll move on to the gimmicks, which include the flare gun, detonator, man melter, squirt shot, thermal thruster, and gas passer. Now, those last two could be in a base all on their own, but I decided to leave them to the gimmicks because that is what they are. Usual disclaimer, I define gimmick as a weapon for a specific class that deviates from the stock weapon of choice. For instance, because the Pyro stock secondary is a shotgun, anything that isn't a shotgun is considered a gimmick within this instance. With all this being said, let's finally move on to the stock weapon, the Pyro shotgun. Often being seen as the most reliable and best option, the shotgun allows the Pyro to have a way to take out harassers, pile on damage from a range of which its flamethrower cannot reach, and for general combo games. Another plus going for the shotgun is the ease of use. It's easy to look at a shotgun and go, hey, I just need to point and click at somebody with this, as opposed to the complicated mess some other weapons may be. The shotgun is the simple concept to pick up and learn, and isn't as nuanced as the other secondaries. We can't address the Pyro shotgun without talking about the playstyle Combo Pyro. For those who do not know, the Combo Pyro's playstyle is to, well, combo.
He doesn't have to commit to it, and Zenu is just answering back with that downer. Gimme. Oh my god!
One of the most used styles of this is to flame into Air Blast secondary, which is still very possible due to the glitches with the Air Blast still in the game, but I digress. This viability for combos with shotgun alone makes this weapon still one of the best in its class. The next weapon for the shotgun side of things is the panic attack, and just like with my soldier video, I still have no earthly idea how this weapon functions still. In practice, the panic attack is like a shotgun that's more zoned in on one specific area of the shotgun that's already good at, and that's the panic nature of the weapon. When someone pounces on you and they just space perfectly enough, or moving too fast like a scout, the panic attack allows you to quickly switch to the secondary and blast them out of the air. Apart from that, however, there's not many uses for this shotgun, and from what it does do, the shotgun can do it, and it has an entire range of other things that make it much easier. Putting aside all of that, the panic attack in a current state is hyper-focused on delivering the user a panic mode button, and that's all it really does. For the panic attack, this is added in post with no script whatsoever. I also want to say that if you pair this with the degreaser, you can get the panic attack out in a insane, it's under half a second, which is really fast. Incredibly so. So if you want to use this for Puff and Sting, that is what I'd use for Puff and Sting. Thank you Minty Coffee for pointing this out to me while researching this video. I will leave a link to the video in the description. Go check him out. He's a good friend of mine, and I'd like to see him grow even more. That's all. Go back to past me or whatever. Lastly, for the shotguns, we have the reserve shooter. Being nerfed severely in the Jungle Inferno patch for Pyro, the new nerfed version has it completely removed the source for air blasting people to get mini crits, and instead regulated it to be just movement related jumps, making this used as much more as a punisher for far too aggressive jump classes. So use it as such to punish people who may be getting a little bit too close for comfort. All in all, the shotgun selection for Pyro is lacking incredibly, with the only decent shotguns being with the reserve shooter and its panic button, and the stock shotgun for, well, being the stock shotgun. But from lacking, we go to probably one of the most varied secondary slots for a class, and that's what we'll start out with the flare gun. The flare gun, of course, allows for ignition on hit and 100% crit chance on already burning carriers on a semi-automatic fast-ish firing projectile. This allows the Pyro to be able to just capitalize on his main method dealing damage, and the afterburn his method of damage leads behind, as well as just looking really damn new when you pull it off. I guess that's why 1,000 frag moves have been made for it, but yet again I digress. The flare gun allows for a method of puff and sting, which refers back to what I was discussing with the shotgun, but instead with the flare gun, putting someone on fire and using the 100% crit rate on burning players to get over 100 damage in a couple of seconds. Due to the crit, this also gets significant knockback, so that can also help with very specific circumstances. Speaking of specific circumstances, have you ever wanted to shoot someone from around a corner but was too lazy to play soldier? Well, the next weapon, the squirt shot, is for you. allowing for mini crits on hit for burning players, which of course are not criticals, and as such this weapon's flare punch ability is hindered greatly because of it. However, because of the way this weapon works with the flare not exploding on hit and instead exploding whenever it hits the ground, it is able to hit the same person multiple times, or even a group of enemies. Using this, the first hit will ignite, and if it hits again, obviously it will mini crit due to the victim already being on fire. So take that tiny little tip as you will. Lastly, you are able to do what a small hop with the scorp shot, allowing one to make it up to flanking areas which nobody would expect you to be. The same rings true for our next up. We have the detonator, which, staying true to its name, allows you to detonate a charge. Behaving in very much the same way as the scorch shot, as in not doing full crits but instead doing mini crits for already ignited players, the main gimmick behind it is, again, to detonate. This allows you to basically stop the charge in midair and get an AoE effect around a certain area which you detonated on, which can be useful if you just want to quickly ignite a large crowd from afar. Just be careful about the self-damage increase, which makes the detonator a bit dangerous when it comes to flare jumping. And now we move on to the most obscure secondary, in my opinion, which is the Man Melter. This weapon revolves around teamwork more than anything. Extinguishing teammates for the crits is a fun thing to behold, and on top of that, it also allows you to gain 20 health, much like the flamethrowers. The critical hits allow you to wreak havoc on the enemy team with your crits, which basically is like shoving a pocket medic up your butt for the entire game, which, depending on who you ask, is a very nice thing. Lastly, we have the Gas Passer and the Thermal Thruster. And to start this off, I'll say one of them is incredibly fun to play around with, and the other is the Gas Passer. Being useful only in MVM, the Gas Passer allows you to pass your gas and basically throw a mini Molotov. Upon walking into the cloud, you'll be covered in some sort of green oil, and any damage done to you will set you on fire, even to our pyros, which makes for an interesting sight to behold. The bad thing is that not only will your meter start empty, but resupply and spawning do not affect the meter to use this weapon, which obviously is a horrible thing. Without doing any damage to fill up the meter, it takes a grand total of 60 seconds, which in TF2 speak is enough to die at least 3 whole times. You can always do more damage to fill up the meter, quote unquote, faster, but still, 60 seconds will always be a long time, and you only get one toss, so in the event that you do get the passer, all you need to do is use it once and then you'll have to wait all over again. If you don't want to wait around anymore, just equip the Thermal Thruster instead, and you'll be able to nope out of situations faster than you can say nope in the first place. Or you can use it, for example, on Third Mountain Third to scale up half the map, adding for an insane amount of wiggle room for air when it comes to mobility side for things for Pyro. And it's always fun to jetpack around while being able to man-tread stomp under people, as a class that shouldn't be doing so. Now that you've heard all I've had to say, let's go over to someone else who also mains Pyro and has also gone over multiple of these. Name is Loxic, and a link to their channel will be in the description.
The best secondary that is known to most players for Pyro is the shotgun. The shotgun is almost always a alright choice in any case. For other weapons like the flare gun and the scorch shot, flare gun is a really good weapon for its 9 damage in any range if players are on afterburn. But flares aren't viable for some situations or if you can't aim well. Scorch shot is a viable tool that allows the pyro to ignite a group of enemies or remove stickies, but damage is pretty low, but still really good nonetheless. Situational weapons would be like the detonator or panic attack. Detonator is similar to the scorch shot but overshadowed, but detonator allows for greater jumps or flanking plays. The panic attack is a combo beast at a glance, but it's not a really good finish off in longer ranges like the shotgun. Weapons I did not mention, like the Man Melter, Gas Passer, etc, are very, very situational, which often would not be used at all. But all in all, weapons can vary in situations, so one might be better than the other, but in my opinion, shotgun rules from all Pyro Secondaries.
And that's all of them. Yet again, like the soldier secondaries, I feel there are too many weapons on one side to firmly give it to one side or the other, shotguns or gimmicks. So I'll leave with another question. Do you feel Pyro's secondaries are balanced, or do you feel they're the spawn of Satan? Let me know in the comments. And with that, this will end the video. Thank you all so much for watching.